My name is Daniel Carter, and for 10 years, I believed I was building a life with the woman I loved. Her name was Melissa. When we first met, she was 24, ambitious, funny, and carrying herself like the world owed her nothing because she planned to take everything she wanted with her own two hands. I admired that about her. I was 27, working 2 jobs, saving every dollar I could, and dreaming of one day owning a small house with a garage, a yard, and maybe a little office where I could start my own consulting business. Melissa used to tell me she loved that I was steady. Not rich. Not flashy. Not the kind of man who made promises he could not keep. Steady. You make me feel safe. She told me on our 3rd date, sitting across from me in a cheap Italian restaurant where the candles were fake and the bread was free because that was all I could afford. I believed her. For years, I carried those words like they meant something sacred. I married her 3 years later in a small ceremony behind her aunt's house. We did not have much. My suit was rented. Her dress came from a clearance rack. The cake leaned slightly to one side because one of her cousins made it for free. But when Melissa walked toward me that day, smiling under a string of white lights, I thought I had won the lottery. I thought, this is it. This is my family now. I was wrong, I just did not know how wrong yet. For the first few years, life was not easy, but it felt honest. We rented a small apartment outside Columbus, Ohio. I worked as a project coordinator for a construction firm during the day and picked up freelance bookkeeping work at night. Melissa worked at a marketing agency downtown. She was good at her job. Better than good. She was charming, sharp, and knew exactly how to make people feel like the smartest person in the room. Clients loved her. Her coworkers admired her. Her boss, however, admired her a little too much. His name was Grant Whitmore. I heard that name almost every evening. Grant said this. Grant loved my presentation. Grant thinks I should lead the next campaign. Grant says I have executive potential. At first, I was proud of her. Sounds like he sees your talent, I told her one night while reheating leftovers. Melissa smiled without looking up from her phone. He does, she said. Finally, someone at that company does. I should have noticed the way she said finally. Like I had not seen it. Like all those nights I stayed up helping her rehearse pitches, proofreading her proposals, and encouraging her when she wanted to quit meant nothing compared to one compliment from Grant. But love makes you explain away the little things. The late nights. The new perfume. The way she started guarding her phone. The sudden interest in expensive restaurants and designer handbags. When I asked if everything was okay, she laughed. Daniel, don't be insecure. I'm just finally moving up. That word stayed with me. Insecure. It became her favorite weapon. If I asked why Grant was texting her at midnight, I was insecure. If I asked why she needed to go on another weekend business retreat, I was controlling. If I asked why she no longer wanted to talk about our plans, our house, our future, I was holding her back. Still, I stayed. Because by then, I had built my whole life around the belief that marriage meant fighting through hard seasons. And I was fighting. God, I was fighting. I had been saving money for nearly 8 years. Not just casually saving. I mean skipping lunches, buying used clothes, driving the same old Toyota with a cracked dashboard, taking every extra contract I could find. By our 7th anniversary, I had saved $186,000. That money was supposed to be our future. A down payment on a house. Emergency savings. The foundation for the business I wanted to launch. Melissa knew every dollar was in that account. We called it the Freedom Fund. She used to joke, one day, this fund is going to buy us a life where we don't have to answer to anyone. I did not know she meant herself. The month everything fell apart started quietly. Melissa became strangely affectionate again. She cooked dinner twice in 1 week, which she had not done in months. She suggested we take a weekend trip. She asked about my business plan and acted interested for the first time in years. I remember thinking maybe we had made it through the rough patch. Maybe the woman I married was coming back. One Friday night, she sat beside me on the couch and rested her head on my shoulder. Do you still trust me? She asked. I laughed a little because the question felt dramatic. Of course I do. She looked up at me with wet eyes. I know I've been distant. Work has been a lot. I just need you to know I love you. I kissed her forehead and told her I loved her too. The next morning, she was gone. At first, I thought she had gone to the gym or the grocery store. Her side of the closet looked normal. Her makeup was still in the bathroom. Her coffee mug was still in the sink. Then I saw the envelope on the kitchen table. My name was written on it in her handwriting. Daniel. Just Daniel. No. Honey. No. I'm sorry. No heart at the end like she used to draw. My hands were already shaking before I opened it. Inside was a single page. Daniel, I can't keep pretending I'm happy in a life that feels too small for me. You are a good man, but you are never going to become the kind of man I need. Grant understands me. He sees my potential. He can give me the life I deserve. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. Please don't look for me. Please don't make this ugly. I took what I needed to start over. Consider it compensation for the years I spent waiting for you to become more ambitious. Melissa. For a few seconds, my brain refused to understand the words. I took what I needed. I read that sentence again. Then again. Then I ran to my laptop. I opened our bank account. Balance, $42.17. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I refreshed the page. Same number. $42.17. Every cent of our savings was gone. $186,000. Gone, transferred in 3 separate transactions the night before. My stomach dropped so hard I nearly vomited on the kitchen floor. I called Melissa. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Blocked. I called Grant's office. The receptionist told me Mr. Whitmore was away on extended leave. I drove to Melissa's company like a madman. Her desk was cleaned out. Her coworkers would not look me in the eye. One woman, Ashley, finally pulled me aside near the elevators. I'm sorry, she whispered. They left together yesterday. Everyone kind of knew. Everyone knew. Those 2 words were almost worse than the empty bank account. Everyone knew my wife was cheating on me with her boss. Everyone knew except me. I went home and sat on the floor of our apartment until it got dark. No music. No TV, no crying at first. Just silence. Then my phone started ringing. Melissa's mother, Diane. I answered because I was desperate for someone to tell me this was not real. Instead, she said, Daniel, I know you're upset, but you need to handle this with dignity. I stared at the wall. Dignity? She stole our life savings. Diane sighed like I was being difficult. Melissa told me that money was from both of you. I saved most of it. You were married. Marriage is sharing. She ran away with her boss. Another sigh. People fall out of love, Daniel, it happens. That was the moment something inside me cracked. Not broke. Cracked. There is a difference. Broken means you cannot move. Cracked means something hard begins forming underneath. I hung up. By Monday, I had learned the truth. Melissa and Grant had flown to Miami, then from Miami to the Caribbean. They had planned it for months. She had opened a separate account. She had slowly copied financial records, passwords, and personal documents. The final transfers were not impulsive. They were planned. I filed a police report. The officer listened, nodded, and told me that because we were married and her name was on one of the linked accounts, it might be treated as a civil matter. Civil. That word felt insulting. There was nothing civil about waking up and discovering your wife had emptied your future like a thief in the night. I hired a lawyer with a credit card I could barely afford to use. Then I filed for divorce. Melissa did not respond. She was too busy posting pictures from beaches. Not on her main account. She was smarter than that. But friends showed me screenshots. Her laughing on a yacht. Her wearing sunglasses that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her hand wrapped around a cocktail. Grant beside her, smiling like a man who had won a prize. The caption under one photo said, "Finally living the life I deserve." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Then I blocked every person who sent me screenshots. Because pain is strange. Sometimes people think they are helping by showing you the knife again and again. They are not. The next 6 months were hell. I moved out of our apartment because I could not afford it alone. I rented a room from a man named Victor, a retired mechanic who lived 2 streets over from where I worked. The room smelled faintly like motor oil and old wood, but it was clean. Victor did not ask many questions. On my first night there, he saw me carrying in 2 boxes and a duffel bag. "Divorce?" he asked. I nodded. He handed me a beer. "Mine took the house in '89, he said. "You'll live." At the time, I was not sure I wanted to. I had no savings. My credit was damaged. My business dream was dead. My marriage was gone. And everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of the man I had been. The trusting man. The patient man. The man who thought loyalty would protect him from betrayal. But bills do not care about heartbreak. So I worked. I worked until my hands trembled from exhaustion. Day job from 7 to 5. Freelance bookkeeping from 6 to midnight. Weekend consulting for small contractors who needed someone to organize invoices, job costs, payroll, and tax documents. It started with 1 client. Then 3. Then 7. Most small construction businesses were good at building things but terrible at tracking money. I knew that world. I knew the mistakes. I knew how to save them from bleeding cash. One night, Victor found me asleep at the kitchen table with my laptop open. He shook my shoulder. "You trying to die young?" "I'm trying to rebuild." He looked at the spreadsheet on my screen. "You're good at this?" "I think so." He leaned against the counter. "My nephew runs a roofing company. He's always complaining about paperwork. You want me to introduce you?" That introduction changed my life. Victor's nephew recommended me to another contractor. Then another. Within 8 months, I had enough clients to quit my day job. I did not celebrate. I was too scared. When you have lost everything once, Every good thing feels temporary. But I quit anyway. I named my company Carter Operations Group. At first, it was just me and a laptop in Victor's spare room. I built systems for small construction companies. Budgeting, payroll tracking, supplier payments, fraud controls, project cost reports. Fraud controls became my specialty. Maybe that was not surprising. Betrayal teaches you to look for missing pieces. By the end of the first year, I had hired 2 part-time assistants. By the 18th month, I moved into a small office. By the second year, I had 23 clients across 4 states and more money in my business account than Melissa had stolen from me. But I did not feel triumphant. Not yet. Success did not erase what happened. It just gave me enough distance to breathe. The divorce finalized without Melissa ever appearing in court. My lawyer tracked her through Grant's addresses and eventually served her. She signed everything quickly, probably because she thought I had nothing left worth fighting over. The court ordered a partial repayment connected to certain funds she could not legally justify taking. She never paid. I did not chase her, not because I forgave her, because I was busy becoming someone she would not recognize. 2 years after Melissa left, I bought a house. Not a mansion. Not some dramatic revenge fantasy. A solid brick home with a detached garage, a wide porch, and a maple tree in the front yard. The first night I slept there, I woke up at 3 in the morning and walked barefoot into the kitchen. The moonlight came through the windows. The house was silent. Mine. Not ours. Mine. I stood there and cried for the first time in months. Not because I missed her. Because I had survived. 2 weeks later, Melissa came back. It was a Thursday evening in October. I remember because it had been raining all day, the kind of cold rain that makes the streets shine under porch lights. I was in my office reviewing reports when my doorbell rang. I checked the security camera on my phone. At first, I did not recognize her. She stood on my porch wearing a thin beige coat, her hair darker than before, her face pale and thinner. No designer bag. No confident smile. No glow of the life she deserved. Just Melissa. Soaked from the rain. Shaking. I stared at the screen until the doorbell rang again. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Daniel. Please. I know you can see me. I just need to talk. My body reacted before my mind did. Heart pounding. Hands cold. That old pain rose up like it had been sleeping under the floorboards. For a moment, I was back in that apartment, staring at $42.17. I almost did not answer. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. I opened the door. Melissa looked at me like she had seen a ghost. You look different, she said. I said nothing. Her eyes moved past me into the house. You bought a place. Yes. That's wonderful. Still I said nothing. She swallowed. Can I come in? No. The word came out calmly. That surprised both of us. She blinked. Daniel, please. It's freezing. There's a coffee shop 6 minutes from here. You can talk there. Her face twisted, just slightly. She was used to the old me, the man who would have stepped aside, handed her a towel, made tea, and asked if she was okay. That man no longer answered the door. We drove separately to the coffee shop. I chose a table near the window. Public. Bright. Safe. Melissa wrapped her hands around a paper cup she had not paid for. I bought it because watching her count coins from her pocket felt pathetic, and I hated that I still had enough humanity left to care. For a while, she just stared at me. Finally, she said, Grant left me. I took a sip of coffee. She waited for a reaction. I gave her none. He was using me. She continued. He told me we were going to build a life together. He said he was leaving his wife permanently. I almost laughed. His wife? Melissa looked down. You knew he was married? Her silence answered. I leaned back in my chair. So you left your husband for a married man? It wasn't that simple. It usually is. Her eyes filled with tears. He made promises, Daniel. So did you. That landed. She flinched like I had slapped her. I know, she whispered. I know what I did was horrible. Horrible is a small word. She nodded quickly. I was selfish. I was stupid. I thought money and status meant happiness. Grant made everything feel exciting. He made me feel special. And my life savings helped with the excitement? Her lips trembled. I'm sorry. I looked at her then. Really looked. There had been a time when those 2 words would have broken me. I had imagined them so many times, Melissa showing up, crying, apologizing, admitting she had made the biggest mistake of her life. In my imagination, I always felt powerful. In reality, I just felt tired. Where is the money? I asked. She wiped her face. Gone. Of course, Grant invested some of it into a startup. It failed. Some went toward travel. Some went toward legal fees when his wife sued him. Then he blamed me for everything. He said I ruined his life. I stared at her. And now you're here. I didn't know where else to go. There it was. Not love. Not remorse. Not a sudden realization of my worth. She came back because every other door had closed. I have no job, she said. Grant made sure no one in the industry would touch me. He told people I stole from the company. Did you? No, I said nothing. She looked offended for half a second, then remembered she had stolen from me. I deserve that, she whispered. I checked the time on my phone. Melissa panicked. Please don't leave yet. What do you want? She looked at me with those familiar eyes, the ones that used to make me forgive small cruelties before they grew into large betrayals. I want to come home. I felt something inside me go completely still. You don't have a home with me. Daniel. No. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. You're right. But we were married for 10 years. That has to mean something. It did. To me. She started crying harder. I loved you. No. Melissa. You loved what I gave you. Stability. Loyalty. Someone to fall back on. Someone to make you feel safe while you chase someone who made you feel important. She covered her mouth. I continued, not because I wanted to hurt her, but because for once, I wanted the truth to stand in the room without apology. You did not leave because I was cruel. You did not leave because I cheated. You did not leave because I abandoned you. You left because you thought I was too small for the life you deserved. Then you took the money I spent years earning and used it to run away with another man. I was wrong. Yes. I see that now. Only because it failed. Her face crumpled. That was the sentence she could not argue with. Because it was true. If Grant had married her, if the money had multiplied, if the beach photos had turned into penthouses and parties, Melissa would not have been sitting across from me in a coffee shop begging for mercy. She would have never thought of me again. I can pay you back, she said suddenly. With what? I'll get a job. I'll do anything. I just need a place to stay for a few weeks. No, Daniel, please. No. Her voice rose slightly. So that's it? After everything we had, you're just going to leave me homeless? I looked at her, and there she was. The real Melissa. Not the crying woman. Not the regretful ex-wife. The woman who still believed my boundaries were cruelty if they did not serve her. You left me with $42? I said quietly. She froze. $42.17. That's what I had after you walked out. I slept in a rented room that smelled like engine oil. I worked 18-hour days. I rebuilt everything while you were drinking cocktails on stolen money. She looked away. You don't get to stand here and make me the villain because I survived you. The coffee shop went quiet around us. Or maybe I just stopped hearing anything else. Melissa whispered. I have nowhere to go. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Her eyes flickered with hope. It was not money. It was not a key. It was a printed list. Shelters. Legal aid offices. Job placement programs. Low-cost counseling centers. I printed it before I came here. Her face changed. You knew? I searched your name after you texted. Grant's divorce case is public. So is the bankruptcy filing. She stared at the paper. You planned this? I prepared. She gave a bitter laugh through her tears. You really hate me. No, I said. That's the part you'll never understand. I don't hate you anymore. Then why won't you help me? I am helping you. I'm giving you information. What I'm not giving you is access to my life. She pushed the paper back toward me. I don't want this. Then leave it. I stood. She grabbed my wrist. Not hard, but desperate. Daniel, please. I made one mistake. I looked down at her hand until she let go. No. You made hundreds of choices. The flirting. The lying. The planning. The transfers. The note. The blocking. The vacation. The silence. The refusal to pay anything back. Every day for 2 years, you made the choice not to make it right. Her mouth opened, but no words came. I placed a $20 bill beside her coffee. For a cab. Then I walked out. The rain had stopped. The air smelled clean. Behind me, through the window, I could see Melissa sitting alone under fluorescent lights, staring at the list I had left behind. For the first time in 2 years, seeing her did not feel like being stabbed. It felt like closing a door. But the story did not end there. 3 days later, Melissa emailed me. The subject line was, I'm sorry, I almost deleted it. Instead, I forwarded it to my lawyer unopened. Old Daniel would have read it 5 times, searching for sincerity. New Daniel understood that some messages are just hooks. A week later, Diane called, Melissa's mother. I let it go to voicemail. Then came the text. Daniel, this is Diane. I know things ended badly, but Melissa is still your wife in the eyes of God. I almost admired the audacity. I replied with one sentence. Melissa is my ex-wife in the eyes of the court. Then I blocked her. 2 days later, Melissa's younger brother, Evan, showed up at my office. I had always liked Evan. He was quieter than the rest of that family. He looked embarrassed just standing in the lobby. My assistant asked if I wanted security to handle it. I said no. Evan stepped into my office holding both hands up. I'm not here to defend her. Good. He nodded. I just wanted to tell you something. Mom and Melissa are telling everyone you refuse to help her because you're bitter and rich now. I laughed once. Rich? That's what they're saying. Of course they are. He shifted uncomfortably. I told them they were insane. I remember what she did. I remember Mom saying you should handle it with dignity. That surprised me. He looked down. I should have called you back then. I was 21 and scared of my family, but that's not an excuse. I'm sorry. For a moment, I did not know what to say. It was the first apology from anyone connected to Melissa that did not come with a request attached. Thank you, I said. Evan nodded. She's staying with Mom now. Just so you know, she's not homeless. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not because I wanted her safe. Because now I knew the coffee shop performance had been exactly that. A performance. She had somewhere to go. She just preferred my house. Evan left after a few minutes. Before he walked out, he turned back. You seem better. I am. He smiled sadly. She always said you weren't ambitious enough. I looked around my office. The glass walls. The team working outside. The framed first dollar from my company hanging by the door. Then I looked back at him. She confused quiet with weak. Evan nodded. Yeah. She did. A month later, I received a letter from Melissa. Not an email. A handwritten letter. For a second, seeing her handwriting again took me back to that envelope on the kitchen table. Daniel. Just Daniel. This time, I did open it. Not because I wanted her back, because I wanted to know whether she had finally learned to tell the truth. The letter was 4 pages long. She wrote about Grant. About how he controlled everything. About how the glamorous life was mostly dead and lies. About how she missed our old apartment, our cheap dinners, the way I made coffee, the way I used to warm up her car in winter. She wrote that she had mistaken peace for boredom. That line stayed with me. I had spent years thinking I was not enough because Melissa wanted more. But maybe the truth was simpler. Some people do not know what peace feels like because chaos makes them feel valuable. At the end of the letter, she wrote, I know I don't deserve another chance. But if there is any part of you that still remembers the woman you married, please let me try to earn back your trust. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. Then I went outside and raked leaves from my yard. That was my answer. Not every message deserves a response. Winter came. Then spring. Business grew. I hired a full-time operations manager named Claire, who was smarter than me in 3 different ways and not afraid to tell me when my systems were inefficient. She was the first woman I found myself laughing with without feeling guilty. I did not date her. Not then. I needed to learn who I was without trying to be chosen. So I went to therapy. I joined a running group. I learned to cook things that did not come from a microwave. I visited Victor every Sunday for coffee, even after I moved out, because some people become family by simply showing up when your life is in pieces. One Sunday, he asked, You ever hear from the ex? Sometimes. You answer? No. He smiled. Good. A snake doesn't become a rope because it lies still. That was Victor. Half mechanic, half philosopher. About 6 months after Melissa appeared on my porch, I received the court notice I never expected. My lawyer called first. They found attachable wages. I sat up. What? Melissa got a job. Not high paying, but official payroll. We can begin garnishment for the unpaid judgment. I was quiet. Daniel? Do it. It was not about the money anymore. Not really. It was about reality. For 2 years, Melissa had lived as if consequences were optional. As if apologies could replace repayment, as if tears could erase theft. They could not. The first payment arrived 6 weeks later. Small. Almost symbolic. But when I saw it deposited into my account, I felt something I had not expected. Not joy. Not revenge. Balance. A small correction in a world that often lets people walk away from the damage they cause. Melissa called the next day from a new number. I answered because I already knew why. You're garnishing my wages? She snapped. There was the voice again. Not broken. Not sorry. Angry. Yes, how am I supposed to rebuild my life? The same way I rebuilt mine. With less than you started with. That's cruel. No, Melissa. Cruel was taking $186,000 and leaving me with $42.17. She breathed hard into the phone. I said I was sorry. And now you're paying me back. I can't believe who you've become. I smiled faintly. You should have stayed to find out. Then I hung up. That was the last time we spoke. A year later, I stood in the conference room of my company's new office, watching my team celebrate our biggest contract yet. A regional construction group had hired us to manage operational systems across 12 branches. The kind of contract that would have made old me call Melissa first, voice shaking with excitement, hoping she would be proud. Instead, I called Victor. He answered on the third ring. What broke? Nothing. We got the contract. There was a pause. Then he said, hell yes, kid. I laughed. I was 39 years old, and this old mechanic still called me kid. That evening, I drove home in the same Toyota. Yes, the same one. I could afford something nicer. I just did not want one yet. The dashboard was still cracked. The engine still made a strange clicking sound when it was cold. But it had carried me through the worst years of my life, and I respected loyal things. When I pulled into my driveway, I sat there for a moment. The porch light was on. The maple tree had turned gold. My house waited quietly. Peace. Real peace, the kind Melissa had mistaken for boredom. I thought about the man I used to be. The man who believed love meant endless patience. The man who thought being steady was enough to keep someone loyal. I do not hate that version of me. He was kind, he was hopeful. He built something worth stealing, but I am grateful he did not stay in charge forever. Because the man I became understands something now. Forgiveness does not mean reopening the door. Closure does not require one final conversation. And love without respect is just a beautiful cage. Melissa took my life savings and ran away with her boss. For a while, I thought she had destroyed my life. But the truth is, she only destroyed the life where I kept making myself smaller so someone else could feel bigger. 2 years later, she came back begging me to take her back, and I finally had enough self-respect to say no. Not with rage. Not with revenge. Not with some dramatic speech in the rain. Just one quiet, complete word. No. And that one word gave me back everything she tried to take.